and then we will talk about like how to organize the essay. Okay. All right. So let's first look at the prompt. What do you see in the prompt? That's important. Okay, like where? Okay, so here's the relationship between speaker and audience, right? Okay. What else do you see? What else stands out to you?
The father's legacy.
Okay, so this is the father, right? And we see that he's a diplomat and future president. So what does it mean at this time to be a diplomat? Like, why is that important? Remember, like, they give us golden nuggets when we're going through. So why is it important that we understand that he was a diplomat?
Because it's during why he was going on the voyage.
Okay, but I mean, like, why does that give us context to what's happening?
I guess it can make the situation more serious because they're fighting for independence, so like he has to act accordingly.
Well, if it's her son, like she has the possibility of losing two of her loved ones rather than.
They're not going over there for war, you guys. They're going over there to negotiate. But he is a diplomat. So what does that mean for her son?
She's encouraging him to be a diplomat, to learn.
What does it mean if your parents are prominent people? If they are diplomats?
You have to be as good as them or better.
Okay, so there are expectations for the son because of his status, right? And then we know that he is the second president, right? The father is. If you know contextually, what does John Adams eventually become? Is it sixth or fourth? Okay, so he eventually becomes president. What do you know about Abigail Adams, if you know anything? Contextually.
Wasn't she the women's suffrage?
She started the idea, right? She was kind of a forward thinker in the idea of women's suffrage. She got her husband to address the ideas of women's suffrage like 100 years before it actually came about. She also had the idea that, like, not introduced the idea, but it was kind of her theory and her mission to say that it's like the wife's responsibility to properly raise their sons to be like citizens, right? Like it was their duty to do it, right? Okay, where is your task for the prompt? Where is your task? At what point does it start? Okay, analyze the rhetorical strategies Adams uses to advise her son. Okay, we don't really care about rhetorical strategies. That is what we do all the time. So you cannot focus on that. I mean, that's what we do, right? When you talk about rhetorical strategies, especially now, it's not so much the where's Waldo, like where are the diddles? Where's the simile? Where's the metaphor? Where's the polysyndeton? Where is the anaphora? Where is the repetition? It's not so much that anymore. Now we are looking at how the argument is developed. Okay, so it's not so much the idea of point and find stuff. Now it's the idea of how does she develop her argument. Now we've studied argument and done argument for almost a quarter and a half, almost 2 quarters now. So you understand how people develop argument, right? You can't come out and be sassy in the original, like in your opening statements, because you're going to turn off your audience, whoever he or she may be, right? So you have to kind of gain their interest, and then you hit your stride in the middle, And then in the end, you're kind of slowly backing out, right? So you have to understand those things when you go in. The big picture, though, is this. How does she advise her son? So you have to find a purpose for your reading. So here at the top, like I said, I am looking for advice. That's what I'm looking for as I'm annotating. What advice? Now, because that is big picture, that message is going to be implicit. Meaning, it is not explicit. It is not something that you can go in and put your finger on in the passage. Okay? It is the big picture. So, difference. For Alfred Green, when it was the one that was written during the first month of the Civil War, and that he was writing to the slaves in the North, right? He was a freed slave in the North, writing to the slaves of the South. It told us our purpose. His purpose was to get the slaves in the South to join the fight in the North. That was his purpose. So then, yes, you go in and look at the language that helps him to do that. Okay? Here, you have to find out what the advice is. So as you read, you should be looking for what she's saying and then looking at the bigger picture, like what advice is it? Okay? The other thing that you have to do is you have to separate yourself from your mommy. Okay? Because your mom may talk down to you and give you advice and talk down to you does not mean that Abigail Adams is doing the same thing. Okay? We also need to step beyond the idea of sarcasm. Everything is not sarcastic. Have I already covered this with y'all? Everything is not sarcastic. Okay? So there is little sarcasm in the excerpts that we read. Little to none. Okay? Unless you find a satirical piece, then the satire is within the satirical piece. Okay? But not in something like this. Okay? The other thing that I kind of skipped over is this idea of traveling abroad. You're mid to late 1700s, early 1800s, and they are traveling abroad. Well, duh. Yes, they're on ships, not airplanes. But what does that mean? Like who does that? Now it's typical. It's every day, right? Y'all are going abroad for spring break, right? What does that show you? It does show a sense of wealth. It's really only the privileged, right, that get to travel abroad. Okay. The other thing I want you to do before you even get in is I want you to number your body paragraphs. So we're going to number So there are 6 body paragraphs. Why do we number our body paragraphs? For what purpose? To see if there's a shift, okay? So worst case scenario, when you're looking at your 2 body paragraphs, you're going to look at dividing your paragraphs in half. If there are 8, divide it at 4, somewhere around there. You also want to look at where the break is between the 2 columns if you have 2 columns. More often than not, there is a shift in one of these 2 columns. Okay? So for me, if you're just looking at the organization, let's say you haven't even read it, what do you notice organizationally about paragraphs 1 through 3 and then 4 through 6?
1 through 3 are a lot shorter.
Okay. Okay. So for me, I automatically see that, and I see that 4 is lengthy, right? So before I get in, I'm going to divide it in half. Because I bet somewhere around there's a shift, right? If you think organizationally in an argument, she's kind of buttering them up the first 3, hits her strides in the middle, right? And then those last 2, notice they're just 1 sentence each. She's backing her way out, right? So notice that that's the shift that you're looking for, okay? The other thing that we're going to look for as we read through is not necessarily what the things mean that she's saying, but as you annotate, you're looking for what is the bigger advice. My suggestion for this one would be to divide up the body paragraphs based on the advice. First half, she's giving one piece of advice. Second half, she's giving another piece of advice. Okay? That would be my suggestion for this. All right? So let's look at paragraph 1. What do you see in paragraph 1 that lends itself? Automatically, I mean, you already see like my dear son, right? This is not uncommon. I mean, it's a formal letter. It's like y'all saying what's up. But now it's formal. Okay? What do you see going through paragraphs, like let's start in paragraph 1, that stands out? What is paragraph 1 about? What is she doing? What's her purpose?
It's like addressing how
I thought you regrets her decision because it says, I should not have urged you to accompany your father, so she's like worried. Would you say that? I mean, I wouldn't. She's like saying, I shouldn't have said that.
I don't think she's.
I think it's more the fact that like she said when you adhere to a verse, it's more like she wished that he had made the opinion himself rather than. Like,
What is her purpose in paragraph 1? Look at the big purpose. In an argument, every paragraph has a purpose. So what is her purpose in paragraph 1?
I thought it was like she thinks that he can't judge things on his own, so he's kind of like not independent and can't think for himself.
Okay, so she's starting to establish like it's more focused on her, right? So it's focused on mom, and she's basically saying that he needs a little help, right? He needs help making decisions. Okay, where do you see that?
I said, or that you were capable of judging what was best for your own benefit. It's kind of like he can't judge it for himself. He has to depend on somebody.
Yeah, and notice the if, right? If I had thought these things. Okay, what else? What about that?
It means he's gone before, and if he's first way down, he probably didn't like the first time.
Gone before, maybe bad experience the first time. Okay. Maybe he didn't take advantage of what he was supposed to, right? Okay. What about paragraph number 2? Now what is she talking about?
maybe that when you should like he'll mature, you know.
Say that again?
Like that he'll mature and like realize his feelings.
Okay, so now the focus is on him, right?
Is she saying like you'll understand why I'm doing this one?
Okay. So show me examples of her saying that like he's going to mature or he needs to mature.
Then you will find your understanding. That you will when you doesn't have it yet. That she has to for the full bit. It's the last sentence.
Okay, what else in that second body paragraph?
That he needs to take advantage of his advantages.
Where?
It says your knowledge of the language must give you greater advantages now.
Okay, so take advantage of it.
Which in the same sense, she talks about being ignorant of it, like being ignorant of his advantages.
Right. Your knowledge of the language must give you greater advantages now than you could possibly have reaped whilst ignorant of it. Right? So now you didn't know, before you didn't know there was some advantage, right? Now you know, you understand that there's going to be an advantage, so now you have to take advantage of it, right? Like own up to that experience. So the idea of being ignorant means what?
Not broken.
It does show a little bit of immaturity. Ignorant means you don't even know, right? You're not stupid because you know and you just don't get it. Ignorant means you don't know, right? It's our famous saying. You don't know, you don't know. Right? Okay, so let's look at the third body paragraph. What do you see in there?
It's like using a lot of the simile between the river and how traveling could be a benefit to him.
Okay, so the analogy of the river, right? So you have the analogy of the river, and what does the analogy of the river equal? What's its purpose? To show what?
What you will gain.
Gain from traveling.
Just from traveling? What does traveling equal?
I think it's going somewhere outside of your own home.
I mean, traveling equals experience, right? So what is the important parts in there?
Increases its stream. Talks about increasing like knowledge flows.
Okay. And look at this idea, like this, it's bigger than just the river metaphor, right? You're talking about rich veins.
Saying like become more like powerful because the stream is getting stronger.
Yes, and the stream equals, no, stream does not equal power. What does the stream equal?
Stream is like a leap.
What does a stream equal in the analogy? If you're saying it's an analogy, do what? Growth. It's experience. The stream is experience, right? And constant knowledge. And as the stream increases, so does his knowledge, which makes him and the river more powerful, right? But look at the rich veins you have in there. What else do you see in there that kind of goes with this idea? The rich veins goes to powerful. The rich veins is his family, right? That equals his family lineage, right? What else in there?
Improve their qualities.
They're what?
Improve their qualities.
So improving your qualities equals character, right? Okay.
Your improvement should bear some proportion to your advantages. So, like, she's expecting him to improve as much as, or be more equal to his dad.
Well, I mean, saying the idea that your improvement should bear some proportion to your advantages. So if you don't really have much advantages, then you don't have much chance of improving your character very much, right? Because you just don't have the experience, the opportunities, right? Where here you do. Look at also nature. Nature being the river, but nature also being what? His genetics, yeah.
So in the same sense, he's talking like family can also like enrich you with qualities and your knowledge.
What?
Like, because like if you connect to that with that nature as the family and the river as well, then
Yes.
it's how like you could go back to that same paragraph and say how family connects with the river and so.
Okay. Yes.
Because of your family, you have an increase in your growth and your.
Okay. So now we looked at what all that means. Now we're looking at advice. What is her big piece of advice in the first half? What is her motherly advice? Yes. Take advantage of your experiences, right? Because what will it do? I mean, all the above. It will improve your character. Is that a piece of advice that a mother would give a son? Yes. Is that the big picture? Yes. So notice that you have to look at those things, right? I guarantee you this year, it will not be like an Alfred Green, like here's the purpose, go and find the devices, right? It's gonna be, what is the big picture? And you have to keep going back to the big picture. So I guarantee you, if you look back at your essay, you talk a lot about what she's saying, but not the advice she gave and how what she is saying supports that advice. Does that make sense? This is what's in blue is the implicit message that you need to get. So if you feel yourself over and over again just talking about what she's saying and not looking for the bigger purpose, you're not going to get higher than a 4. Okay, does that make sense? So you need to take a second when you get done before you move forward and say, once you get to like your shift, and say, okay, what's the big picture? What'd she say? And now you're looking for something different in the rest. So let's look at paragraph 4. Now she's in her stride, right? First paragraph, she's stroking him, right? Or first paragraph, she's like saying like, mommy knows best, right? Anybody from the Disney? Yeah, Tangled? Yeah. Mother knows best, okay? And then second body paragraph, she's kind of stroking his ego, right? Oh, however, you've submitted to my advice, oh, bless your heart, right? So you see that transition to where now she strokes his ego. And now, that third paragraph, now she's kind of looking in. Now she's kind of getting into what it is that she's talking about. Okay, so now let's look at paragraph number 4. What do you see in paragraph 4?
She says wisdom and penetration are the fruit of experience, not the lessons of retirement and nature. So, like, she's basically saying you need to put action to these, just not sit.
What is wisdom and penetration are the fruit of experience? It's another analogy. What is she saying here?
The fruit is kind of the sweet part that comes after planting a tree. So, like, I think she could say that, you have to go through the efforts to gain the wisdom and penetration.
Okay, so you have to go through the effort to gain the so-called fruit, right? Now you've skipped over what she's talking about. Where did that come from?
She said that it was like, it's not in the still of calm life, so like, she thought like still was like just sitting there.
It's not in the still of calm life, so it's only during what?
Moving, learning.
Not calmness.
Difficult.
Yes. Think of what prompt did we write on? Adversity. Y'all think back to these arguments, these big picture, certainty, doubt, adversity, right? Okay, so where is her examples for that? Cicero, right? Had he not gone through all, so there is Cicero's adversity. Roused, kindled, and inflamed. Right? And tyranny, by the tyranny of. Right? Like here is Cicero's adversity. So notice that this is specific. This is a specific reference. And then next comes what? Don't read to me what it means. What comes after it? She's being specific, and then she explains it. So it's a little bit more general. Right? So now this is the explanation, but it's the general. So if he didn't get his part in the Cicero, the tie-in that she's trying to say, you are just like he is, now she expands and explains it and makes it more general. So now he can see himself in that general picture. Does that make sense? Okay, what else in there? Notice you have wisdom and penetration there. Retirement and leisure. Raised and animated. Notice those are all actions, right? Wake and form. Those are all actions that she is trying to drive him to. Because out of those actions comes what? Comes what? Yeah, right? So what is the advice she's giving?
That difficulties are what you need to go through difficulties to gain improvements. Improve your character.
Yeah. Adversity. So notice the beginning, it says take advantage of everything that you're offered. But then she's saying, look, you're going to face adversity sooner or later. even with all the advantages that we give you. But face them, because if you come out of those, then what?
Then you have growth.
Yes. So now show me some more examples of.
Then war, tyranny, and desolation are the scourges of the Almighty.
Okay, so what does that mean?
She's making desolation equivalent to war and tyranny, which is, isn't desolation like not putting into action?
Okay,
It's as bad as war and tyranny.
okay.
Almost like it's like sinning from the Almighty.
Okay. What else do you see? Notice these transitional words, right? You had the however, you have yet. So notice all these things are outside of him. The historical reference, the general reference, God. And now she goes, yet, what?
It is your lot, so she brings it back to him.
Your lot, your own, your existence. So what does that do? Going back to her advice.
It places like a sense of duty that you now need to take action.
Yes. Okay. Look at paragraph 5. It's not even a paragraph. One sentence. Last one. One sentence. But it's a hefty sentence. Okay. So look at paragraph 5. What is the purpose of paragraph 5?
Saying like,
It needs to be like focus of his.
But what's it a focus on?
how much his dad is that for?
Not for him, though.
Like Ben and Joe. Like as a confidant. That's
That you have a parent, so this is dad, who has taken so large an active share in this contest, which is what?
a revolution.
Well, I mean, not yet, but right, like trying to resolve, right? Okay. And discharged the trust reposed in him with so much satisfaction as to be honored with the important embassy which at present calls him abroad. So what has his dad done?
Like,
The-
he's faced the adversity and now it's like his turn because
Eh.
he doesn't do it.
Well, and that's his result, right?
It's like his turn to do it.
Yeah, well, I don't know if, it's his turn, but I think she's trying to say, like, look at what your dad went through, right? Here's the cause, and then here's the effect. Here's what happened. He went through the adversity, and then his afterthought or his effect of it was this bigger duty, right?
So it's like it's the person he's with right now, and the reason why he's there is kind of because of his dad. So
Well, yeah.
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 So it kind of ties into the fact that when he'd be reading this, if he
Yes.
Have the same opportunity.
he'd realize he wouldn't be taking the marriage of the
Yeah.
there.
I mean, and look, you have your father here, and now you have the father again here. So you have that tied in, right? Okay, what about paragraph 6?
That it kind of just kind of touches back on his like ego and like how he has like the hope, he has the characteristics to get there, he just has the trouble.
The strict and inviolable regard you have ever paid to truth.
It's his
Whose truth? The strict and inviolable regard you have ever paid to truth. She is personified truth, right? Because you're showing respect to it.
Yes, says swear from her dictate.
Her dictates. Truths dictates.
The countries, because she wants to be a politician.
Well, she says
Seems
to
like she
honor
does
her.
herself.
Who's the other her?
The speaker.
The mother. So is she not putting herself equal to truth?
And almost like she puts herself above it because she says particularly, or at least above the country. Or his dad.
Well, but I mean, look at what she says, right? So the strict and inviolable regard you have ever paid to truth, right? You've had high regard for me, right? Gives me pleasing hopes that you will not swerve from her dictates. Truth dictates, not mine. Truths. Right? But add justice, fortitude, and every manly virtue. Do honor to your country and render your parents supremely happy. So basically the order is you have a duty to God, you have a duty to country, and you have a duty to your family.
And then it goes even specific back to the speaker.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you look at the affectionate mom and you look at my dear son. Right? She's tying that in together. And same thing here.
Isn't it normal to split the initials?
Yeah. So now you have two pieces of advice. So in your assertions for your planning sheet, if you didn't talk about the advice that she gives, then I'm not real sure what you talked about. Okay? There better not be any devices in those two parts, in those two assertions, right? Because we're not looking at devices per se. All right? All right, so do we want to look at samples now?